We are live. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for being here tonight. Today is Tuesday, October the 7th. Welcome to the City Council meeting. We are streaming the meeting live on the City of Madison YouTube channel and archiving it there for later viewing. We have a very robust agenda tonight because we're also going to be talking about our 2026 budget. So you're in luck. You get to sit through a long conversation about what's happening in Madison in 2026, which is going to be great. We also have a public hearing relative to that budget, as well as an additional appropriations ordinance that's being considered by council. Like with all of our other council meetings, let's begin by inviting you to stand and recite the Lord's Prayer, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Clerk, may we have a roll call, please?
Patrick Tevenow.
Here.
Carla Krebs.
Here.
Lucy DiTillo.
Here.
Josh Schaefer.
Here.
Joel Storm.
Here.
Jim Bartlett.
Here.
And Josh Wilbur is absent.
Council, have you had an opportunity to review the minutes from our last meeting dated September 23rd? If so, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I move that we accept the minutes as presented.
I'll second that motion.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. First up on tonight's agenda, I would like to recognize Code Enforcement Month. I do have a proclamation to read, and if Dewey O'Neill and Brian Shaw are here, I want to recognize them, but first I'll read the proclamation. Whereas code enforcement officers provide safety and welfare to citizens in the nation through enforcement of local codes and ordinances on issues of zoning, environmental health, life safety, and blight elimination. Whereas code enforcement officers have a challenging role and often do not receive recognition for the work they perform, improving living and working conditions for residents and businesses of local communities. Whereas code enforcement officers are dedicated, highly qualified professionals with shared goals of enhancing and ensuring safety and preserving property values through application of zoning and nuisance codes and building codes. Whereas in 2025, the city's code enforcement officer has opened 371 nuisance-related cases and has closed 227 of those. Since the creation of this position in 2022, over 1,450 nuisance and unsafe structure cases have been addressed. This effort advanced again in 2025 with the adoption of an ordinance to address vacant and abandoned structures or premises. Code enforcement officers provide customer service and excellence to residents and businesses of the communities they serve, with the mission that everyone deserves to live in a clean, safe, and beautiful community. Whereas the American Association of Code Enforcement wants to recognize code enforcement officers across the United States and bring awareness to the importance of code enforcement to the communities. Whereas the City of Madison would like to recognize and express our appreciation for the dedication and service of our enforcement officers, Dewey O'Neill, and our building inspector, Brian Shaw. Now, therefore, I, Bob G. Courtney, Mayor of the City of Madison, hereby proclaim October 2025, as National Code Compliance Month. And I would like to invite Dewey and Brian up to the podium to receive this proclamation, and also a round of applause to thank them for the work they're doing in our community. Keep up good work.
Thank you. Thank you.
You guys make a hell of a team. Say a few words if you like.
I don't know what to say.
Do you normally get an applause when people see you out in public?
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
I
it
try
is.
I try to remain anonymous, to be honest with you.
Right. Yeah.
You're not very anonymous, I can tell you that.
But like you said today, it's a team.
Yeah.
And him and I, since the beginning, we've gelled and we've made a great team and we've made progress. We've upset a lot of people, of course, but at the end of the day, we've made a difference and we're making a difference, and it is showing.
Yeah.
And I think everyone can realize, like, our city is growing, our city is getting more beautiful, and we are definitely together. Do you agree with that?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Dewey?
I don't know, he's the talker, I'm the looker. So, you know, that's all I gotta say. Yeah, it'll be 4 years in January. This position was created, your first code enforcement officer. And thanks for having me. I'll keep up the work, okay?
Hey, I'm really proud of both of you guys and the work you're doing. You are making a difference. It's evident. Just walk down any street in any neighborhood on any block. And you don't have to hope to see the product of your work. You do see it. It's not hard. It's not easy work, though, is it?
No.
It's something that you have to constantly be in tune to. So I'm really grateful for yours and Brian's and the entire team here, the work that you do on on our community. So thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, well, thank you. We'll get into our resolutions and bills work. I'll turn it over to Mr. Jenner, and he'll walk us through a couple of resolutions and an introduction of a couple of ordinances before we recess the council meeting for the public hearing.
First resolution is resolution number 2025-14C, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Madison, Indiana, transferring certain appropriations and revenue between different funds. Do you want me to introduce them all and then we can kind of take them one by one? Would that make sense?
However you wanna do it.
Okay, why don't we just do that if that's okay? Because a lot of these are related. Yeah, and then there's also Resolution 2025-15C, and that is appropriation transfer, or transferring certain appropriations between departments within the same fund.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Council, we can talk about both of these. We're just getting a jump on year-end cleanup, to be honest. 14C is moving some money from a salary line in the planning department that we are not replacing, have not replaced, and aren't going to use that salary this year, to the professional services line. We have, as you know, many projects going on right now, and professional fees are a hard one to estimate what you're going to need for a full year. So we're just going to take this extra and drop it in that line so that we can continue the work that we need to do on those projects.
Are there any questions for Ms. McGee on 2025-14C? Okay, do we have a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve.
Do you have a second?
Second.
And any discussion? Could I have a roll call vote?
Sure. Carly Krebs,
Yes.
Bartlett,
Yes.
Storm,
Yes.
Schaefer,
Yes.
DeTillo,
Yes.
Stovall.
Yes.
Thank you. The next one, 15C, is the exact same thing. It's just moving from funds within the department, but we're put in different categories, so we're moving it from where we don't need it to where we do need it. Happy to take any questions on that or answer any specific questions about a line if you have any.
Any questions on 15C? Seeing none, sir, do we have a motion to approve?
I move that we approve 2025-15C.
Second?
Seconded.
Okay, roll call. Any discussion, I guess I should ask. Assuming not, roll call.
Krebs,
Yes.
Bartlett,
Yes.
Storm,
Yes.
Schaefer,
Yes.
DeTillo,
Yes.
Kavanaugh.
Yes.
All right, the next ordinance on the agenda is ordinance number 2025-17C, and that is the budget notice and appropriations of tax rates for 2026.
Joe, if you want to go, I would ask maybe if you want to go ahead and introduce the other ordinance, and then we'll recess and get into the public hearing, and then come back
That'd be fun.
to those two ordinances, if that's okay.
And then there's ordinance number 2025-18, and that's additional, or which one are you talking about?
2025-18 is the additional appropriations between various funds.
Between various funds.
Yes.
So both of these are public hearing.
Okay, gotcha.
So
All right,
those,
so on the, kind of on the table at the moment is ordinance number 2025-17C, the budget notice, and ordinance number 2025-18.
And we have a sign-up sheet? Is
We
it going
do.
around?
We do. When do you want?
so we're gonna, if you'll pull up the notice to taxpayers, which is Form 3, that's Form 4. The public hearing is for the notice to taxpayers, Form 3, which is very similar to Form 4, but it's a different form. And then we'll recess the regular council meeting, go into the public hearing for both the notice to taxpayers for the 2026 budget, and then after that, we'll discuss the additional appropriations between various funds. There is a sign-up sheet, there is a sheet here to sign that you are here during the public hearing. So we're passing that around now. And then when we get into the public hearing, anybody who would like to come up one at a time as we talk about these two topics may come to the podium and give a statement if you'd like to council and the mayor.
Gotcha. Is there any,
And now would, go ahead.
gotcha, is there any comment from the council as it pertains to the budget? Okay, anything from the public?
And during that,
And this is, we are recessed for the public hearing.
yes, we are recessed for the public hearing. When we,
You may.
please come to the podium for that. But I do have a budget overview. I think now would be the appropriate time to do it for the benefit of the public hearing as well as council. So if, Michelle, you could make your comment now if you like, or,
It's very short.
okay.
I just noticed there were no dollar amounts mentioned. Is that
I'm about to give an-
standard
Dollar amounts for what?
in all of these resolutions?
The documents were given in advance to the public as well as council, and they were on the screen during the time. So the action that council took was for the documents we're all looking at tonight.
I didn't look up.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to do an overview of the 2026 budget. If you'll bring up the presentation, I'll kind of tee it up a little bit. Our work on the 2026 budget has actually been going on all year. And we have had many discussions in council chambers at these meetings relative to the 2026 budget, particularly because of legislative changes that have essentially transformed how property taxes will be calculated in the future. And then the implementation of Senate Enrolled Act 1, which will take about 5 years to fully implement. And the overview of that legislative change, as we've talked about numerous times, is for reductions in property taxes, personal property taxes for businesses and real estate property taxes for homeowners, and the impact that would have with regards to reductions in revenues for cities, towns, townships, counties, schools, libraries, public health departments, you name it. A lot of us are funded through various revenues, majority of which has been real estate property taxes for years. Governor Braun's primary initiative for the 2025 legislative year was to essentially transform property taxes and pass along some savings to property owners in those categories. As we've talked before, the impact of that is significant on all of us. And we are expecting that over the course of the 5 years that this bill or the statute now is implemented will reduce City of Madison revenues by almost $3.5 million. That is not an inconsequential sum when you think about all of the investment that we need to make, but more importantly, the essential services. I am happy to report, though, that we were very involved in that process and very aware of how that would impact the city of Madison. So we've been planning for this, and we are having to make adjustments like every community is, but we have focused on continuing to provide critical, essential services, but also be able to invest in our community, and the capital investment in our community is significant. I'll go through the presentation. We'll talk about the notice to taxpayers that is for your benefit. It is relative to council's action on our ordinance, which is Form 4 for 2026. But I'd like to give you an overview and maybe kind of frame up what we've been working on to deal with this significant change. The total proposed budget for 2026 is $15.9 million, not including the utilities budget of almost $10 million. So the city of Madison operates, is projected to operate on approximately $26 million in 2026. Revenues consist primarily of property tax levies, local income taxes, and miscellaneous revenues such as our community capital development fund, interlocal agreements, motor vehicle highway funds, and service fees. The city is projected to lose over $3.3 million in revenue from the implementation of Senate Enrolled Act 1. Real estate property taxes currently fund approximately 52% of our budget. Partial revenue replacement in 2026 will come from the recently adopted wheel tax and food and beverage tax. The city's general fund covers mostly personnel and benefit expenses for the basic operation of the city, such as police, fire, planning, preservation, economic development, parks, clerk treasurer's office, streets, and aviation, and other administrative functions of the city. General fund outlays are projected to decrease over 2% for 2026, which is over $202,000. As we were crafting our 2026 budget, we needed to reduce and or replace over $800,000 of revenue. And keep in mind, we are doing that at a time where many of our uncontrollable expenses are rising from inflation very quickly. Next slide, please. What have we done to manage reduced revenues? We're proposing for 2026 to hold pay raises for elected officials flat at the 2025 rate. Pay raises for all city full-time staff was reduced to a flat $1,250 incentive, plus the FICA and PERF related to that to be paid in January. That is less than the target amount of 3% cost of living increase that we were hoping to be able to provide but can't. The associate planner position in planning, preservation, and design was eliminated. Part-time clerk deputy position was eliminated. We eliminated city funding for new PACE program projects for 1 year. And I'd like to clarify there that doesn't mean we won't have a PACE program in 2026. It just means that the amount allocated toward PACE will be reduced. And to combat that reduction for 2026, we'll have to tighten the standards for the scoring and those properties that would receive PACE funding. We'll still make a big impact, I believe, through the PACE program, but that was a $150,000 city budget contribution that we had to eliminate, and unfortunately was a casualty of SEA 1. We made permanent reduction of 6 positions at the Madison Police Department, and you'll see in a little bit that how much public safety investment we make through our property taxes and income taxes. But we did reduce or make permanent open 6 positions. We reduced 6 for 2026. We reduced the Main Street infrastructure funding for 1 year. We removed the Main Street match funding from the wheel tax and riverboat sources. Again, trying to stretch our dollars even further, but it will result in some reduction in infrastructure investment. We removed $100,000 of investment in tourism and Main Street programs out of the food and beverage tax. We are still supporting the Main Street program and supporting investment in our community, but we had planned on utilizing $100,000 of the food and beverage tax to expand that investment. And unfortunately, in order to make up over $800,000 in our reduced revenues, we had to cut that. We reduced the levy allocation to parks by 25% to cover other general fund expenditures. And we offset this with projected revenues from the food and beverage tax. Parks General Utilities has also been offset by the food and beverage tax. 100% of the anticipated revenues we will collect in 2026 from the recently adopted food and beverage tax, 100% of that will go to support our Parks Department. And as you know, we recently adopted 2 new revenue sources that will help facilitate these reductions in our budget. We adopted the $25 and $40 wheel tax for 2026, and we adopted a 1% food and beverage tax that will be implemented on food and beverage providers in 2026. Where does your money go? This is not a diagram of the entire budget. It's a diagram of a portion of the budget that is directly funded from your property taxes and the income taxes you pay from your paycheck. These are the services that you directly support, that you're literally writing a check for. As you can see, we'll go down the list, but approximately $11.4 million of our $15.9 million budget, excluding utilities, is supported by some form of property tax or income tax. And with Senate Enrolled Act 1, the true impact of that is to transfer more of the burden of local governments from property taxes to income taxes. So that is going to have, I think, some big implications for Madison and Jefferson County residents, because if you have a job, your local income taxes will rise in order to continue to support your local governments, while the burden on property taxes reduces and the burden on personal property taxes of our business investments also reduce. And the highlights from the graph, I'll just touch on those, is you'll see that 46% of your dollars fund public safety. Public safety is police and fire, the benefits, the equipment, the pension. So more than, or almost half of what you fund to your local government supports public safety. And I think that's an important investment that we make, because the number one goal for our community is to be a safe community. Without a safe community as the foundation of our community, all the other objectives and initiatives that we strive to achieve would not be possible. I think our police chief is here. Let's give him a round of applause, and our other officers who are in the house. Without police and fire, and we also greatly benefit from all volunteer fire department. We have a paid command staff, but changes are on the horizon for that as well. In 2027, we'll get to go through the painstaking exercise of determining what that new municipal local income tax should be to provide these essential services. And why I'm bringing that up repeatedly is because of this transfer between property taxes to local income taxes. In 2028, one of the elements of Senate Enrolled Act 1 that is being incorporated is the current elimination, or they should say the elimination of the current form of local income tax. It's all got to be reconfigured, and I will say that I think our state legislature and all the agencies now that are important in executing this new property tax and local income tax statute, we're all still trying to figure it out. We don't have enough information right now to determine what that is. But by the summer of 2027, we will have to adopt what that local income tax rate will be, and not just the city of Madison, but towns, townships, and counties will be doing the same thing. Other things to point out here is the other main benefactor of your property and income taxes is Parks and Recreation. This doesn't cover the entire budgets. It just covers what portions are funded by your taxes. Our budget's much higher than what's reflected here for Parks, for example, and Parks as a whole is much bigger than the 12% that's coming out of your property taxes. And as I mentioned here, we have a budget that's almost $26 million, $11.4 million of that through a variety of general services are funded from your property taxes. This presentation will be available online. We'll make sure that we post it as we get further into the discussion of the 2026 budget. I'll go through one more slide, and that's the next slide here, and that's to talk about the investments that the city has to make. We have really been evolving, I believe, the capital planning for the city over the course of the last 5 years, and that has resulted in how we have allocated certain monies in the budget, and what is not sustainable is expecting that our operating budget covers all of our capital needs. In fact, it doesn't come close. One season of street paving could cost $1 million to $2 million. That is not funded from our budget. But here, these are the primary areas of assets that the city has. And the city has well over $100 million in assets that we have to maintain and continuously invest in. And as we're talking about tonight's agenda, about investing in the future, this is the infrastructure for the city. And it is Parks and Recreation, streets and sidewalks, facilities, utilities, stormwater, public safety, aviation, housing, Main Street, and placemaking. All of those areas are things that we're constantly working on to improve, to meet the needs of our community so that we can all have a high quality of life and enjoy living here, but also deliver what I believe is great value on your investment in your local government. And the return on that investment is showing all across our city as our economy continues to improve and grow, as our investments are being made. You witness it when you drive down Main Street and see the infrastructure investment. Just about a year ago, we finished a multi-year $13 million investment in water. We're making those investments because we have to for our community. And for a community of our size, we have enormous infrastructure and we operate much bigger than we are. I'll pause there. That's the overview. The purpose of this public hearing is to allow residents to make any comments relative to the notice to taxpayers in the form of the notice to taxpayers that is posted through the state's transparency portal called Gateway. You'll see the numbers that I just went over here. That's Form 4. That's actually the ordinance, if you could pull up Form 3, which is the notice to taxpayers. That's identical to what you would see if you clicked on the link that we distributed last week, so everybody could go online and see the dates for the public hearing, the anticipated adoption, which will be at the next council meeting. Tonight we'll have the first reading of the actual ordinance, but this breaks down in the prescribed categories how your money will be spent, but also how much additional money we raise through the course of the year to not only operate your local government, but to make tens of millions of dollars investment. And we are doing, I think, very well, exceptionally well, on leveraging these investments for significant returns on investment. I'll pause there. We'll come back into the public hearing. If there's anybody here who would like to make a statement to council or the mayor relative to the notice to taxpayers, you're welcome to do so at this time. And I would also, before Shirley gets in there, I want to thank our staff for all the work here. I was going to mention this when we got to the ordinance, but so much work goes into this budget. You could not imagine the complexity and the granularity of what our staff here at City Hall and in the clerk treasurer staff does to bring you this and the transparency about where your money is spent. But I'll turn it over to our clerk treasurer.
Perfect. Thank you, Bob. So I just would like to just piggyback on what Bob just said. So we started in August with the budget workshops. So each department head came to the council and myself and presented what their needs were. Mindy does a fantastic job of putting together this big booklet, and I think you can see how thick it is. Each page in this booklet is representative of individual appropriation lines. I know that means nothing to you unless you think about your personal bank accounts. If you have a savings account, checking account, Christmas club, that has to be done for every single entry that happens in this book. So I have an amazing staff that we tried to do the fast way and mag dump something into our, from our accounting software directly into Gateway, and it failed miserably. So we had 2 straight weeks of all 5 of us, all hands on deck. To give you a perspective, I have accounts payable, accounts receivable, bookkeeping, and payroll in my department. So that's what makes up that 2% of the budget. All staff was all hands on deck for 2 weeks, re-entering everything into Gateway by hand. And that's a big dedicated staff. And I just want to give a shout out to all 4 of them for helping get that in line, and for the mayor's office and his staff for helping and making himself available to answer for questions. So, and of course the council. Thank you guys for making yourselves available.
Oh my gosh,
to this.
it's just enormous work all around, and I'm so grateful that, again, we're not only looking at how we adapt, but how do we continue to invest and grow and thrive. Anyway, we'll turn back to the public hearing.
Yeah.
Joe?
Are there any comments from the public as it pertains to the budget? Okay. Anything from the council?
We're going to come back to the ordinance
Yeah.
with council.
Just for the, okay, so I think we'll close the public.
Well, we still have one other thing. We have the additional appropriations,
Oh, okay. You want me to
the
close
2
it
items.
out one, or why don't we close the public hearing as it pertains to the budget, and then we will open the public hearing as it pertains to the appropriations.
Okay,
Is that all right?
sounds good.
All right. Is there any comments as it pertains to the appropriation ordinance? Okay, seeing and hearing none, we will close the public hearing on the appropriations, and those will move on to second reading.
Well, we haven't had the first reading yet.
Well, I thought I did it by introducing them, but
Sorry. Well, we're still in the public, we're going to go to a public hearing for the additional appropriations.
I just did that.
Yeah, you did it.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow, all right.
Yeah.
Sorry,
That's all right.
I was listening very closely.
That's all right. No problem.
Do they want to take the option to, on this?
So that-
Mindy, were you gonna, on the additional appropriations, is that where we are?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Can you come up to the podium to answer some questions?
And there's a couple other folks here. Some of these were not
Right.
at my direction, so I know you'll have questions about some of those, so.
Yes. So the first one, obviously, those are the lease purchases on the equipment at Sunrise Golf Course.
Correct.
And that's the amount for the entire year that we
That
pay
is-
on those leases.
That is the amount remaining owed
Okay,
on the leases for the rest of the year.
okay,
They were not budgeted for correctly.
okay. And then the next one is the DOC crew, the mowing crew, and the money to pay, was it the salary of the supervisor?
No, well, it's for the guards. We have not been billed for that for several years. And
So this is like a back payment, like,
It's a-
it's so
a
much
back
because it's
payment.
not just 1 year's worth
Correct.
of,
Correct.
Okay,
And in the
and-
26 budget, we put the full amount in.
okay, and we've communicated with them that that needs to be a yearly thing and they can't charge us for years gone by? In
They
the
are,
future?
yes, they are when they put the crews back out is when they, I think, figured out.
Okay. And then the next one is the parks, and it's a lot of little things put together. Included that is some repairs on equipment at Sunrise, some gravel and sand to repair a bridge that had gone out, seasonal staff at Crystal Beach. Remind me what the property insurance appropriation is, CC.
Oh, so we have to do the budget in August, September, and we're guessing how much our property insurance is going to increase. So this basically, then we get our renewal in January. So, it's kind of backwards, but this basically represents the increase from what we budgeted for. The increase was higher than what we budgeted for. So this will we change it to quarterly payments. This will ensure that we can make the full quarterly payment on the fourth quarter.
Okay, wow, we underestimated big time there.
Well, I think I put in 18% and it was 26 or something like that.
Okay. Okay, then airport. Does anybody else have any questions about those first 1, 2, 3, 4?
Real quick, the county tax technology appropriation, what's that one?
I'm glad you asked about that one. So, we have, I think, 21 machines that are so old they cannot be supported anymore. And as of October 31st, they won't be supported. So that's licensing and that's new machines.
Are those across the city, or are they?
Yes. So I'm going to prioritize them. Some of them may not need to be. Some of them might be able to wait after the first of the year. So,
And that's like Microsoft licenses, things like that, using software.
yes, ma'am.
Anybody else questions on those first 4 before we go to the airport? Okay, Brett, you're up.
It's right here in case you need to.
Do you have any questions on this?
Just review with us again,
Yes.
please.
So basically, we had an appropriation for our NRO at the beginning of the year, but it was $0, and we were spending out of it, and we caught the error. So then we transferred money to basically fund and clear that. I think we got like negative 81,000 or something. It's money we already have. It's money that's generated on the airport, stays on the airport. So we zeroed that out, but we also purchased a hangar while we were in the middle of all this, and then we realized that we ran out of the appropriation again. So this money, basically, we're bringing 100,000 out of our rotary fund, which is the money that's it's our revenue generated from fuel sales, and then the other 140,000 is what's in our aviation NRO, which is basically our, I guess there's not necessarily a savings account, but it's cash fund, yeah. And that's the part of the balance that's already in there. So this just unlocks it so we can continue our spending and capital expenditures for the rest of the year,
Okay,
or more, so.
thank you. Anybody else?
Just to be clear, so the fuel sales go into the rotary fund. The fuel expenses, do they come out of the NRO or out of the?
No, everything, so anything that has to do with fuel,
Goes in,
oil or lubes, comes out of the rotary fund.
in
That's-
and out, both
Yes,
expenses and
and then it
revenues.
just builds up, and then there's a way that you can transfer it. I forget exactly what the language was, but we are allowed to transfer it at any point, and
so
so we're
the-
just transferring it over here so we can.
The fund balance there is profit on the fuel that is
Yes.
being used
Yep,
to pay
and we
for
keep a
it.
cushion so we can purchase fuel.
Yep.
Yep.
Anything else?
I'd like to say something.
Okay, go ahead.
So, me again. I just wanted to let you know, so the next step in line, when this gets approved, would be I have to send it to the DLGF. DLGF will make a decision. If we truly showing on our records that we have the cash balance and we have the funds available, then they approve it, then we can transfer the money. So there's still another step for us to do, but the first step was to put it in the paper, which Mindy did, and this is the second step. Third step is to give it to DLGF and get their approval.
Is there any go ahead.
It's contingent that we can transfer upon, having the funds available.
Right.
What if there was a situation where we didn't? How would we then, rectify balance and everything?
That's one thing that we look at pretty carefully to make sure that that is available. The only time that we've had that, if you remember the 389s last year, the only time that we've had a denial was because, remember I used the chandeliers? We were trying to pull money from things that should have been reconciled back in '22
Right.
and '23. So these are funds that are fresh funds, things that maybe are left over in the account from recent. So the cash balance, in order to pull the money out of the cash balance, when you look at your fund report, in that very beginning balance. If there's funds in there, then we can pull those out, but we have to go through this process. So they get all the same reporting now that you all get.
Okay,
Does that help?
yeah,
And
yeah.
Councilman, I
thank
might just add on that, which is, we have these funds. We're just transferring either between funds or between appropriation lines. And we do not have a situation where we don't have the money to cover these transfers, but that's the process with DLGF's oversight, is to make sure that we do have these fund balances or projected fund balances in order to properly appropriate the money. So it's I like it because it's multi-layers. It's the mayor's office, the clerk's
You
office.
say that now.
What's that?
It's a lot
City
of
council,
work.
and they're very quick. I mean, DLGF
Yeah,
is very
they are.
quick,
They're
honestly. They're
super
very
quick.
responsive. And then it goes to DLGF, and she'll get the approval for it, and then be able to, transact the transfers.
Yeah,
You're
it's all documented. Everything that we do now has got absolute records to back it. We're just not guessing that we're going to pull money out, so.
Is there any appetite for the council to move 2025-18 onto second reading?
Yeah, I move that we move ordinance 2025-18 to second reading.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay. To substantiate my vote, I feel I have not had enough time yet to adequately look through this to feel comfortable voting on it tonight.
Gotcha.
And I agree.
Should I do a roll call? Move it to second, or is it dead now?
We're not moving it second.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not moving.
It'll go to second reading.
Yep.
The next meeting. All right.
All right, so now we are on to, we've reconvened the city council meeting, and we are on to 2025-19, and there's fixing salaries for appointed officers. That is 2025-19, fixing salaries for appointed officers and employees for 2026.
And before we do that, I just want to confirm, council, you didn't have any questions on the ordinance relative to the budget? Is that correct? Okay, all right, thank you. Minnie, you want to present these next two ordinances that are part and parcel to our 2026 budget? One being the salaries of appointed officers and employees, the other being the salaries of elected officials.
Yep, and I'll read for 2025-20, and that's the fixing salaries for elected officials for 2026. They're both very similar, just different amounts for different folks.
Council, this has not changed from the budget workshop that you attended, so happy to answer any questions about the salary ordinance and longevity schedule.
There, okay.
Council, do you have any questions on this? Okay. Anything from the public on these two ordinances? Okay. Seeing and hearing none? No, they've got to move on to second reading. Yep. All right, seeing and hearing none, those will move on to second reading at the next meeting.
Joe, did you include 25-20 in that too? Are we done with those? Okay, thank you.
So I don't believe there are any reports or recommendation from standing.
I was just going to give a
Are
report
there?
that
Okay.
is related to the next item on the agenda, and that is the select committee that I appointed relative to consideration of the two proposed amendments from the last meeting. Met last week and had made a recommendation to forward an amendment to City Council for consideration. And are there any other reports or recommendations of other business from standing or select committees, council? Hearing none, we'll move on to bills on second reading.
I have ordinance number 2025-16, that's amendment to the zoning map and the district schedule of district regulations, sponsored by Wilbur and Datillo. And I believe we may have a amendment.
Yes. So I'd like to motion,
Randy, if you could tee up
I
the
guess-
amendment.
as the mayor mentioned, we met Select Committee last week. We reviewed the proposed amendments from both myself and Councilman Tevenall and discussed the merits of each of the proposed amendments and came to, I guess, more or less an agreement, I suppose, a consensus of what we thought this amendment should be. And so I will motion that the amendment as presented, I guess that the ordinance shall be amended as presented in our packets. Is that appropriate, Joe?
We have the red
And
line
I'll
here.
go through
that
the
has-
red line.
Yep.
There we go. Trying to find the right copy here.
Okay.
Too many papers. So that, the amendment will start on in the annex under section 6.31, where we have changed the setbacks. They were merged together, front, side, and rear yard setbacks. There are 5 feet minimum to any property line and 15 feet to any property line adjacent to Vaughn Drive and 10 feet to any property line adjacent to any other street. So effectively, next to those streets, we will have a approximately 5 foot to 7 foot buffer where the sidewalk and the city right of way is. And then it'll start either the 15 feet setback to Vaughn Drive or 10 foot to any other street, side streets. So 22 feet on Vaughn Drive and about 15 to 17 feet to other streets. The next thing is on the height restriction, added a little bit of clarification that 35-foot height restriction is measured from a level plane at the average of the highest and lowest lead protection grade. Section 6 below that was added to make sure there's no question that there are no occupiable spaces below the highest flood protection grade on the parcel. And I'm not going to read it word for word here, but just to make sure there's no doubt about that, and that the floodplain regulations do in fact apply, and there's no possibility of any enclosed spaces below that level, other than storage, I guess I would say. Going down into section 8, which is new. All the uses in this district shall have a parking and occupancy contingency and evacuation plan for flood events, and that has to be approved by planning staff. And then also in section 9, no central trash collection points or dumpsters placed within the setbacks next to another parcel. Question?
And just to clarify, that's
Yep.
for any structure. It's not
Yes.
talking about one specific structure within
Correct. That's for
the
all
district.
uses within the district. Moving down to parking areas, it specifies that any residential use shall have at least one space for each unit, one parking space for each unit. And then we've added 3 special sets of conditions four actually, special sets of conditions for permitted uses. Those are for dwelling units, which would be single family or maybe two family structures, things like duplexes, and those would have a height restriction of 15 feet from the highest and lowest, the average of the highest and lowest flood protection grade. So they would not be allowed to go 35 feet. Apartments and condominiums shall have 10 feet to any side, a 10-foot setback to any side adjacent to a dwelling unit, and be heavily landscaped to obscure the view. And no mechanical equipment is permitted to go in that setback zone, so no HVAC condensers or anything like that. And then that same setback and requirement would be applied to any manufacturing uses, which is the next section. And then on parks and playgrounds, recreating areas, they also have the extended 10-foot setback to any, on any side adjacent to a dwelling unit. So if any of those 3 types, apartments, manufacturing, or parks, are built next to an existing home, they will have to have a 10-foot setback and be heavily landscaped, rather than the 5-foot setback if the new construction is adjacent to another type of existing construction. And then the last main thing anyway, the same parking requirement that is in effect for the permitted uses would apply for any of the conditional uses. So having one space for any residential use per unit. I think that looks like it. There was also a minor change to the table of uses, I believe, which was to change a few of the irregular, kind of the catch-all terms, which was, we find that one here. Some of the other cultural activities, other miscellaneous or the sporting and entertainment assemblies, those were changed from permitted to conditional to match up with open space like they currently are.
Dwelling units were changed from conditional to permitted as well?
Yes, dwelling units were changed from conditional. So single family or things like duplexes would be permitted, not conditional. Did I miss anything?
No.
We have a motion.
All right, so we have a motion. We need a second to Councilman Schaefer's proposed amendments.
I will second his motion.
Is there any discussion? On the amendment? Seeing here none, go to a roll call vote. Oh, I don't know that you have to have it, but it's not required on an amendment.
Incorporate that into the broader discussion of the ordinance.
Yeah. So if we're going to have a roll call vote?
Sure. Schaefer,
Yes.
Bartlett,
Yes.
Storm,
Yes.
DeTillo,
Yes.
Krebs,
Yes.
Devenow.
Yes.
Anything else from the council before we move on to the public comment on the ordinance as amended?
Councilwoman Krebs, you want to outline the public portion of this as we did at the last meeting?
Yes.
And if there was a sign-in sheet for someone who wanted to speak during the public comment period? Do you have that?
I do, thank you.
Okay.
So just a reminder, you have 4 minutes to voice your concerns. If you spoke last time, we'd ask that you leave space for other people that we have not heard from, because if you spoke last time, we heard you, but you might have a brand new revelation, and feel free to do that. We just ask you to be very respectful of other people's time that they would get to speak to. I'll call your name. If you've changed your mind and you would rather not speak, just say I pass. That'll be fine. And just ask you again to please be respectful and keep your comments, applause, etc. to yourself so that we can hear everybody and get through this and get to our vote. And thank you for being here today. All right, number 1 is Vince Kidd.
Good evening. I'm Vince Kidd. My son and I, we have a couple properties here in town. And so I've asked a question since the beginning. The question I've asked is, what's the benefit for the citizens and property owners of Madison? I've heard what the reasons why it shouldn't be built, but I think addressing the other end of it is just as important. And I asked myself, what are the benefits? So, is the building going to be built and owned locally? And we're not going to have local owners, we're not going to have a local contractor. We understand that. So, I understand that creating this new district allows for us to go in and make this, from what I understand, a blight district, so that we can get a TIF bond issue on that. Well, that would be great, I guess, other than we're creating a district on the riverfront to call it a blight district to create capital. Now, that's an abuse of what the TIF bond was originally created for. The benefits that's supposed to be from that is affordable housing, creative jobs, repairing infrastructure in the district. Well, there's a reason why we don't build in the floodplain. That's because it is a floodplain. The creation of jobs, that's not going to happen. Affordable housing, we've already talked about, it's going to be luxury housing, and it's intended to bring outside people to live in Madison. So it's not for the Madison people. So from what I understand, we're creating a district. It will bring in money through the TIF program that is supposed to be used in the district, but I really don't see a lot of improvements that's needed on the riverfront. We have some empty spaces down there, but those I've seen myself use this past summer for people to come in and park there and set up for events. I just think that this is an abuse of the TIF program. I don't think the people of Madison want to really give up the green space that we have on the river for all the reasons of it's not locally owned, not locally built, and not for local residents. So what is the benefit with if the TIF money comes in, it's to be used on the riverfront? What is the benefit to the people who lives in Madison? And that's my whole question. So, thank you all for your time.
Okay, oh, no, let's try to keep that to a minimum. I mean, good job, we can say thank you, but well, I feel like we've answered these questions all along at different points.
If I may, to begin with, we're talking about zoning. We're not talking about a building. The building is a different discussion for a different time. Now, in terms of your specific questions, there's absolutely nothing that says it can't be owned by a local owner. There is absolutely nothing that says it can't be built by a local builder. It's a matter of a local person choosing to purchase it under the conditions that are created when it is put up for sale. And that person may or may not exist, but there's nothing preventing a local owner from purchasing it. The same happens when the bid specs go out for building anything that gets built. I keep referring to the building, but the fact is, no matter what it is down there, no matter what it is that gets built, the same condition exists then. Nothing preventing a local person from bidding on it and winning the bid and doing the building. In terms of any other advantages that the building provides, is it creates additional population in the downtown market. Now, I've heard, and it's true, people on the Hill do come downtown to do their business downtown on Main Street at times. But if you live downtown, you're far more likely to do your business downtown, and frankly, our Main Street is a very fragile piece of Madison, and it's a very important piece of Madison. So the additional population will help support business on Main Street. I hope that answers a few of your questions.
Judy Stacia.
Good evening. I have one question. I don't expect an answer, but perhaps someone can post online somewhere the answer to this. I'm curious why the building, and in my mind, the building and the zoning are so intertwined. They're really kind of a piece. Why it wasn't put out for a competitive bid? Why was there only one, to my knowledge, one company that was selected to propose this building? So I'd like to know more about that. There's been a lot of talk online about facts regarding this project and the zoning. I'd like you to consider this fact. Although there are people who do want this project and the rezoning to go forward, and I respect their opinion. Everyone has a different thought about this. The most important fact is that the overwhelming majority of people in Madison do not want this project to go forward and this rezoning. So I hope that you will vote no on this project for that reason. And I won't rehash any of the objections and questions. We all know them. But I have not really heard any arguments in favor of the project that are persuasive enough to change the minds of those of us who object. You just mentioned some things about how it's going to bring more people downtown. Well, 50 or 100 people, probably not. I don't know if that's going to make a big impact on Main Street. That's one argument, but is that the only thing that we expect to get from this for the city of Madison from this? I'd like to know if there's some other way something else you can say that is going to persuade us that this is worth all the things we feel we're going to have to give up if this project goes through. I'm not hearing that so far. Finally, this is not the only place where new housing can be built. I don't know all the places. It's not the only place left in the world in Madison. It is the only beautiful riverfront we have. So please consider that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Stacer. Robert Stacer.
Robert Stacer, 518 East 2nd Street. Today I want to talk about a paradox. You know the old saying, 2 heads are better than one? It suggests that 2 people, 2 brains, 2 perspectives lead to a better outcome than 1. If 2 heads are better than 1, are 3? Are 4? Are 12,000? When is more better and when is more worse? You would not do anything crazy with your own private property, would you? No, of course you wouldn't. I'm the same way. Every individual is the same way. No individual would do anything crazy with their own private property. What about 12,000 individuals? What about when 12,000 individuals collectively own a public property? We, in the form of our elected representatives, Mayor Bob Courtney and the City Council, are about to do something crazy with our public property, the Madison Coal Lot. How can 12,000 individuals collectively do something crazy that none of us would do individually? And there's the paradox. Sometimes 2 are better than 1. Sometimes 12,000 are not better than 1. When did this craziness begin? May 18th, 2021. That's the date when Bob Courtney asked the City Council to approve spending $159,500 to acquire the Madison Coal Lot. I quote from Bob Courtney at that City Council meeting, quote, "I think it's a real opportunity for us to acquire it and maintain control over those parcels," end quote. The City Council approved that spending. 4 of you were at that meeting. I quote from the May 19th, 2021 Madison Courier, quote, "Mayor Bob Courtney urged the council to pursue buying the property to protect it from undesirable development and to preserve the beauty of the riverfront," end quote. What happens when a politician wants to maintain control over property? Craziness happens. May God save us from politicians who want to control things. Before the City of Madison bought the coal lot, there were no protests, no City Council meetings, no Plan Commission meetings, no Facebook posts, etc. Life was good. Since May, there have been protests, tens of hours spent in meetings by hundreds of people with thousands of posts on Facebook. Life was less good. Will public ownership of the Madison Coal Lot achieve Bob Courtney's goal to protect it from undesirable development? Not if you vote for the zoning change. Will public ownership of the Madison Coal Lot achieve Bob Courtney's goal to preserve the beauty of the riverfront? Not if you vote for the zoning change. The lesson to learn is clear. Politicians should not buy property and should not control things. Please return the Madison coal lot to private ownership so this craziness can stop. Please vote against the zoning change. And in a few minutes, when the roll call vote occurs, would everybody please speak slowly and clearly? Your votes today will be critical for us to know in 2 years at the next election. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stasher. Shelley Murphy Smith.
And you want to make sure that ordinance gets popped back up there.
Okay, so one of the things I really want to point out is, I've pointed out a lot of different things. I've been on this since the beginning, didn't get email responses back when nobody was really emailing about it. The big thing I am concerned about is this READY grant. The city has indemnified the developer for any environmental liabilities. And we are on a riverfront. We know we're going to have floods. It's a flood zone. When you look up environmental issues, you have cleanup costs, contamination. There was a coal yard there. I think there was even a junkyard there. We have fines for other environmental laws. That could be anything that happens. And there's legal and professional fees or contamination from hazardous waste, groundwater contamination, many other things. And we are taking on legal indemnity for that developer. They're not going to be responsible. Our city is. That's a big concern to me. The big concern that nobody in our community seems to want this, and we are supposed to be represented by our city council, which is really sad to know. We've already been told by one of you that you specifically said maybe it would be something that people wouldn't want, but if you didn't agree with it, you would vote for it anyway. We're all telling you we don't want it. I've talked to many people at Chautauqua that were visiting, and they were all like, this is really sad that your city council would approve this rezoning to your beautiful riverfront. And they were shocked that when most of the people are against it, that you're not being listened to. They're like, that means it's not going to happen, right? And I said, no, that's not what's happening. It's like a blind eye is being turned to what we're saying. There's been meeting after meeting. Several people weren't there. It's just scary, and it's sad to me to know. I was just watching the news the other day. A city as big as Louisville. Louisville is working on a riverfront development of some property that's city-owned, and they're having meetings all over the place for their community to come in and speak about what they want happening at their riverfront. And a city as large as Louisville can't do what our little city, who has always seemed like a tight-knit community to me. And it makes me sad to think that the community that we live in, that we love, our riverfront that we love, that people in the community started the beautification of a long time ago with bake sales to buy those benches that started, and now we're being told, you know what? It's not really your riverfront. We're going to build a big building. And yeah, it may not be a big building. Maybe that won't happen, but we've already got a developer in place. And we've already got other zoning wanting to happen in other places, and other places that are wanting to be developed because people are being contacted about donating this land or selling this land. And it's just really sad that you would want to be remembered as a city council that didn't represent your community, because this is not for your community. 100 people, 50 people, that's not really going to bring in revenue. And it's not for our citizens. They can't afford that kind of housing. I guess.
Thank you. Keith Schmidt.
Hi, Keith Schmidt, 203 Westwood Lane, up here on the hill. I'm against this rezoning of the riverfront. Years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, the downtown riverfront looked horrible back when we were kids. It's a million times better than what it was when I was a kid. And I appreciate that part of it, but let's keep it historic like all of our signs say when we come into Madison. If we're going to rezone or redevelop the riverfront, let's keep it historic. That's all I ask. But I'm 100% against it, by the way. Thank you.
Thank you. Jan Vitris.
Hi, I'm Jan Vatris, 701 East 2nd Street, and I have spoken before, but to Carla's point, I have had some new information. And I did email it to you before the meeting, but I'm sorry it was so late. So if you have not had a chance to read it, I was privileged to attend the Preservation Conference in Fort Wayne this past week. That's the same conference we had here in Madison last year. And one of the sessions was on economic development and the use of how to select developers for your community. And Fort Wayne's example was their canal district, among others. And it was very informative. From what I can tell, we have not followed any of the things they suggested, which was the very first one, was to make sure that you have your community involved and that you know the vision for the development that the citizens are interested in. The second thing was to make sure that the developers that you are interviewing have that same sort of vision. They said it's important to know that developers they specialize. They only do what they are good at. And so if you have a developer that wants to do something that is not aligned with what your citizens are looking for, you've got a problem right away. And the only time you have any control over the developer is right before you sign that contract. Once that contract is signed, the developer runs with it. So I had some questions, and I was very surprised at Mr. Bartlett's response earlier to the other people, but because of the Ready Grant, we know that there was a developer selected. Was there a bid process? How did that work? What kind of developers were involved in that process? How does that align with the community's vision from our master plan? What stakeholders were involved? What is planned for the additional city-owned property or the property the city plans to acquire? And how will this developer, will the same developer get to do that, or will there be a bid process? It's very murky how this whole thing came together. And I know the city worked on it for a long time because it took a while to put the Ready Grant together. But the public has not been involved in what our vision is and have we got the right developers. And so I would urge you, if it's worth doing right. So let's just stop it now and start fresh and do the process the way it should be. Thank you.
Thank you, Jan. Bob Bonch.
Yeah, I'm Bob Vonch. We got property down there at 407 East Vaughn. And I didn't attend the last meeting, but I got to give Carla credit for making a comment about asking people not to interrupt and everything, because I think you would have had more people come and giving their opinions if they wasn't interrupted and rude comments and everything else, because even me, I've had people say, oh, you already got a contractor because you're going to be the next one to sell, and then another one making a deal with the city on mine. And I don't even know where people come up with this stuff, but I'm for it, because there's nothing, like when we sit on that porch in the morning and have coffee or evening, there's nothing like being on that river. Now, people don't want to be on the hilltop or a block away or anything. They want to be somewhere on that river. And I don't believe this will ruin the river that bad, because you're still going to be able to walk up and down, jog, walk your dogs, drive, and you got so much more open space to enjoy. Let me think. I want to talk about people talking about the flooding. We bought our place in 2016.
Sorry, that's not you. That was another one. Sorry.
Okay. We bought our place in 2016. Well, I looked at it and I seen it. We had that flood in 97. The next flood we had was 2018. That's 21 years. And yes, my place got damaged. We redone it. We had another flood this year, which is 2025, which is 8 years. So it's not like you're getting a flood every year. And I'm not saying you won't get a flood every year. I'm just saying by the looking at what you had, and that lot definitely needs something done. Because I'll admit, our city volunteer firemen worked their butts off washing that river road. And people just went in that parking lot, did donuts and pull out and just made a big mess. If that was a parking lot, I bet you it would be cleaned up a lot quicker than if it was just an empty lot, if it was a parking garage. So I'm here, I'm more for the open space. This is what we're voting for right now. So I'm open for, I like to see the open space changed.
Thank you, Mr. Vonch. Next is Julie Tevenall. Thank you, Julie. Deanna Shelley.
Hello, Deanna Shelley, 120 Wall Street. I've listened to everyone, and there's been so many good thoughts about why we shouldn't overdevelop this 3 blocks. It's not about one lot, because I've asked the Plan Commission, what did you foresee for here? And it looks like it's apartments. If I'm wrong, please tell me. Don't ignore me. I need to know. This is going to be densely populated. That's could be 200 to 300 cars in a 3-block area. There's not the space. We can't congest it. Right. You know, I got to thinking, I could tolerate one building done correctly. This format is not. There is not a common balcony. So why would it be on the river? And if you put it in the middle of the 3 blocks, it would be cushioned and covered by trees. It wouldn't be so obtuse and shocking. I'm not in favor of this particular lot right at the foot of Jefferson. But tuck it back, don't make it so tall, let it fit, let it land softly and blend with the community. Could we be satisfied with one building? I'm ready to say I can accept that, but I cannot accept an overdevelopment. So I send you emails pretty often, and now you all know that my particular email address is blocked. I can't reach you.
I got you.
You got it from my son. You don't get it from me.
Okay.
Because I can't get it to, every time I send it, it comes back.
Okay.
So I just wanted you to be aware, and hopefully somebody here can fix that. And Joel, I meant, before I hit the send button, I meant to thank you for your service to our country.
Well, thank you for your
I do
time.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
But, and I never meant to offend anybody by questioning rightful judgment and pure motives. I ask myself these things all the time. So that's why it came up, because from the very beginning, it has appeared to the public that this is a done deal. So that led to questioning, where did you come from? I know where I am. I love the river. I love this town. And we're all doing the same thing. We're letting you know how important this is, but we can't figure out how to reach you. It seems like we're closed off. These things I'm with Jan. We need to stop and start over and come up with a better plan. So, appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Shelley. Di Summers. Sandy Palmer. Oh, sorry. Sorry, I didn't see her stand up. I thought maybe she had left. No, you're fine.
Thank you for letting me do this. I'm going back a long time, 50 years to be exact. Thank you. Short. Anyway, I'm going back 50 years, and when we bought our home, and we went to the bank, and the loan officer was Pat Schimflossel. I don't know if it's been a long time. Anyway, we went through all the things you're supposed to go through, and as we were leaving, he said to me, "Welcome to the East End ghetto." Ghetto? Are you kidding me? No, he was sincere. He meant it. Well, I want you to know a lot of good stuff has happened to our ghetto, and people have worked very hard, spent a lot of money, and all I want is them to be happy. Happy with what they did. And it's kind of tough when people don't understand that you could get emotionally attached to a neighborhood. That's not easy. And but anyway, what I'm afraid of, and what my neighbors are afraid of, is that the rezoning will not help the value of our homes. We are scared to death that it will devaluate if you put in some sort of commercial enterprise. Nobody wants to look at the backside of a building. Not only does it block your view of the riverfront, you get to look at trash cans and dumpsters, and I don't want that. I'm also concerned about flooding. Been there, done that. There's a lot of stuff about FEMA that is not happy. And if you're going to try and bring commercial enterprises in, FEMA can really wreck you good. And right now there are people who are waiting 6 months to get money to redo their home. And I'm one of them. And if you have an enterprise on the river and you have to wait 6 months, how can you survive? I don't see how that works. I don't know. Well, hey, I'm done talking. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Summers. Sandy Palmer.
Sandy Palmer, 105 East 3rd. First, thank you all. I know that you've put endless hours in this and have worked on amendments to something that I wish we didn't need to amend, because I really would like to see it stay as open space. And I'm not against bringing more people. We need more people to live downtown, to live here every day, but to use the buildings and all of the spaces that we have in downtown, like the EMT place when it's empty. And anyway, there's lots of places. But here's what I think. I really want to say it. She does it much better than I do.
I struggle with that. I've always been a tree hugger.
I know, I can't sing it, but it's bad, and it's just, you don't know what you got till it's gone. And she's got a great line on that. Don't put up a parking lot.
Thank you, Sandy. Rainey Wilson. Did any of you attend Unbroken Circle?
I worked it, but I worked the bathrooms, so I can't say attended.
Well, you were in a sheltered area.
Yes.
Long story short, biggest festival we've had in this town. We made money for once, which is shocking, but we did. Great crowd. I hope that this can come back to this town because the citizens, I believe, will embrace that openly. We're going to need every inch of green space we've got on that riverfront, every bit of it. We can do things, we're smarter than this. We are smarter than what is being proposed, we're being questioned about. We don't need to change. We need to come up with some creative ways, and we are all smarter than this. We can do this. We don't need cookie cutter anything to turn into some place that we are not. Bob says we need more people. We've got 47 or 48 vacant houses on the west end alone that are sitting down there that nobody's doing anything with. We need to come together, no left side, no right side. We need to come together, bring our thoughts, because there are things we can do. There are places for people to live. And we can do this. Don't sell us out for some condos and an apartment building, because we are smarter than this. And we have places for people to live. We just need to get unified with it and get moving on it. And we can do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Wilson. Randy Bellamy. Randy Bellamy. No, she asked me to repeat your name, sorry. No, that was not true. She didn't hear the name I said.
Randy Bellamy, 409 East 3rd Street. And I've spoken every time, I know, but some of the things that you have proposed have been not open. You haven't let anybody know. But the biggest thing is that more people in this town are against this than are for it. And you say that you are listening to us. Well, maybe you're listening, but you're sure as hell not hearing. Because if you were hearing us, we wouldn't be here tonight. Thank you.
Last one is Amy Stewart.
Amy Stewart, 1812 Blackmore Street. And just want to say I take a little offense to nobody wants to live on the hilltop. I've lived in the countryside and the hilltop, and they both have excellent qualities. All right, the riverfront is our crown jewel and featured in all our marketing. It's a huge draw for so many events downtown. The Unbroken Circle event brought in thousands of people and is hoping to expand their footprint next year. The riverfront is the first thing the tourists on the riverboats see when they pull into dock. Common sense would say to keep the area at Vaughn Drive and Jefferson open so that it's inviting and available for a variety of uses during the events as they always have been. The local residents use the riverfront on a daily basis as a place to exercise, relax, and socialize. At a time when so many areas are being paved over and filled in with concrete, people are realizing the benefits of green open space and seeking them out. Common sense would say an open riverfront is an asset to the people of Madison, improving their quality of life and making us unique from larger cities. Madison has a housing problem. The apartments being recommended are above the price point for the majority of people that need housing. Common sense tells you this will not solve the housing problem. Some say Madison needs nicer housing options to entice people from out of town. If these people from out of town are so picky they can't find something somewhere local, then they're not interested in Madison anyway. And living in an apartment that constantly has festival traffic and a threat of flooding is not going to impress these pickier people for very long. Common sense would say these apartments will change hands many times, quickly losing value. Some are saying Madison is dying financially and something drastic needs to be done. Walking downtown on the weekends will show many people enjoying the shops and restaurants. We have a number of changes in a short amount of time, and the visitor center works hard to market our beautiful small town. Common sense would say to let the dust settle a bit on some of the changes we don't even have everything done that we've been making. The roads and the buildings, and focus on marketing before making more changes. Because if you can market to people out of town, you can market to the hilltop. Bring those people down. There is an issue with the zoning along the riverfront. Some residents are frustrated that their property has limited options for things they want to do. Other areas are currently zoned for heavy industry, which I'm pretty sure everyone can agree we don't want that in the area. Common sense is not opposed to change and would say that intelligent adults can find a compromise where some options can be opened up that do not ruin the appeal of the riverfront, as this zoning would. Those that oppose the rezoning and those that support it both say they have heard from many people that agree with them. A practical solution would be to put out an unbiased survey that everyone has the same opportunity to fill out. This was actually done, but when the results came back overwhelmingly opposing the rezoning, the very person that proposed the survey suddenly pointed out that it shouldn't be considered reliable. Common sense says that we should respect the results even if they weren't the desired outcome. So, I have tried emailing, calling multiple council members. I've had no response, no commitment. I've had promises that they would get back with me. Still have not heard from them. I've been told that the festivals are all responsible for figuring out what to do when the space is used for something else.
Ms. Stewart, can you wrap it up, please? It's more than 4 minutes. Thank you.
All right, so basically my point is, even if you don't listen to me, if you won't communicate with me, I pray all the council members at least listen to common sense and vote to represent the values of the community. Thank you.
Thank you. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you.
I didn't understand that you had to sign up to comment at these times, and I came in a little late this evening and wasn't able to get on the sign-up sheet.
You spoke last time, Mr.
I
Oxshire.
spoke last time. I have a couple of things here I'd like to address that I didn't address last time.
We have rules for a reason.
I understand, and if I understand your rules correctly, you sign up for the end of the meeting if you're wanting to speak.
So you have something new to share then?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I do. I have a couple of things. Warren Oxshire, a couple of things. I must first disagree with Mr. Bartlett, Councilman Bartlett. This zoning change is being done specifically to be able to put the apartments in on that given lot. The zoning change was not being proposed until after the Ready Grant was approved for those apartments. There's been many years that went by that it was brought up first to the Planning Commission in 2022 and did not get brought up again until it's been written in such a way to be certain that it would allow apartments to be built on that particular lot. I'm not against being able to do a riverfront district, have a Planning Commission truly evaluate it as it should be evaluated, and come up with something that works for the community. As far as this evening new as such, the amendments that you made this evening do not go quite far enough, especially the one that brings you down to 1 parking spot per unit. I don't understand. Everything in your current ordinances requires 2 parking spots per unit. An average house that's being built requires 2. With the number of golf carts that individuals have, and with the income level that would be of the people that live in these houses, our apartments, it's very likely they will have 2 vehicles, or at least they will also have a golf cart. 1.5, I could understand that, but bringing this down to 1 is just not acceptable. Then the other point of making this a permitted use in the district does not add up. All 3 of your other downtown districts, apartments and condos, are a conditional or special exception. Why this particular one would be different? It's because we want to be sure we can build this particular apartment building without the BZA or other individuals other than people that work for the mayor having a say over it. And you definitely need to make it conditional. What you've done this evening, if you pass this, on property the city owns, yes, you still have a say. You may be able to say, yep, we're not going to let you do this on that particular piece of property. The properties that you're rezoning that are not owned by the city, if the owners of those properties decide that they want to put in an apartment building that is Section 8 housing because they can get federal tax credits to do so, and it makes much more economic sense for them to do that, they can build that tomorrow. And this council has no say over a period. It would come before your historic, but as long as they get past the historic and they meet the building permits, flood regulations, just as this one has, you have no say. And your comp plan, I didn't bring up in the past, if you first thing when you reconsider zoning, you're supposed to consider what your comprehensive plan says. Your comprehensive plan has a section that says future land uses. And in that section, it is extremely clear at that time when they put it together, future land uses that are in the 100-year floodplain are not to be anything other than parks, parking, open space. It's spelled out in your comp plan. And the only reason all of that's being changed now is because of this one particular apartment. I just ask you to send this back, let the Plan Commission truly take a look at it, and prepare a district regulation that truly fits versus just something to this particular apartment can be built. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for your public comment. I appreciate you being here. I'll just address a couple of things and before we turn it over to council to deliberate. We've started an important conversation. And to some of the points that were made here tonight, I'll admit, I would love to see more local investment. Love it. We saw the cotton mill sit for over 2 decades, blighted and abandoned. There was no local investment for it. That money came from Alaska. We saw the Sunrise Crossing Hilltop up there sit for 20 years. Where was the local investment? That money came from Lexington, Kentucky. All across the city, through my planning and economic development efforts, and with council support, and leveraging tens of millions of dollars of grants, we have redeveloped multiple areas across our city through prudent planning and investment. The Gateway, the grocery store, the shopping, the affordable housing, the Oak Hill subdivision, Main Street, all over town. Our riverfront, we've made tens of millions of dollars of investment on our riverfront. Now, I'd like to ask for this community's investment to eliminate blight and abandoned and vacant structures. We have about 100 structures that are abandoned, and I totally agree with the points that have been made here. That's available housing. Where's the local investment for that? You know where it's at? We have to force it. We have to force your hands. We showed you earlier why we have to have a code enforcement officer, because this community doesn't respect some of their neighborhoods, unfortunately. Almost 1,500 nuisance cases. Dozens and dozens and dozens of unsafe structures. This property right here at the corner, very important location, West and 2nd. How many years did it sit there decaying, dilapidating? The person that owned it was local. They didn't invest in it. Person from Atlanta, Georgia, believes in Madison and sees the opportunity here and is willing to spend millions of dollars in a town she's never lived in and didn't grow up in. We've got to bring investment in. This proposal is intended to address a very blighted, neglected area of our beautiful riverfront. It's a 3-block area. There's a reason why there's no picnic tables down there. It's not green space. It's got a brownfield site in it. It's got an area where there used to be a junkyard. Relative to local investment, I'd love to see more local investment. The city of Madison probably spends $10 to $12 million a year in the local economy with local businesses and service providers. We'd love that. We would love to have more housing. We'd love to have more second-story housing on Main Street. It's going to take planning and programming and millions of dollars of outside money. We are demonizing people that want to invest here. We're discounting the fact that we do need to grow our population, so why would we do anything that wouldn't benefit the people that are here? Well, we need to benefit the people that are here as well as the people we want to come here for jobs, for our workforce, for opportunity. So the weight of this decision isn't lost on me. But we have to move forward about thinking about the future of Madison and decisions that need to be made. This area of the riverfront clearly needs a plan to reverse its declining condition. Open space zoning in that area isn't appropriate. If you look at the condition it's become since it was last zoned in the 1980s, that's proof of it. But the conversation we're having now is, what can we do better? I think we all agree that something better can be done down there. And I want to clarify too that there is no contract with the developer. What we're trying to do is frame up and unlock opportunity in a 3-block area that focuses on critical needs for our community, and that is housing, hospitality, and recreation right there. And density downtown is extremely important, and I agree with Councilman Bartlett. Our downtown and our Main Street is very fragile. And those of us that have lived here our entire lives or have called Madison home for a few decades, you've seen the economic cycles. We've had some good times and bad times, and we're trying to plan on more better times in the future. That area is surrounded by other zoning districts. Downtown in the city of Madison has about 14 zoning districts. So as we go through and look at our zoning, we have the opportunity to plan better. There's some good examples of good planning, and there's some really bad examples of bad planning. We're going to have an opportunity for a lot more public conversation. Whatever happens tonight is just the beginning. It's just the beginning because we've got to figure out how to attract capital downtown. And I want to assuage your fears. There's not going to be rampant, uncontrolled development down there. That's the purpose of the restricted uses that council's been deliberating and trying to consider your input ever since we started this conversation in May. And there's some self-limiting factors too, which is it's not the entire riverfront. It's 3 blocks. Some of these parcels are very small. If any parcel wants to be enlarged, that's got to go to the Plan Commission. If any building wants to be torn down, that's got to go to the Historic District Board of Review or through the Planning Office. If anything wants to be built, it's got to be overseen by these regulations and building codes. There's a tremendous amount of oversight on things. And I'll end with this, which is, if council agrees with the Planning Commission's favorable recommendation tonight, it begins another step in the revitalization process that also includes more public input. And I'm committed to addressing concerns, because it seems to me like most of the concerns that have been expressed have been about setbacks and the visual of a structure. What's there? You all had your opportunity to state. I'm just telling you what my opinion is, and I appreciate you letting me share that with you. I'm not subject to the 4 minutes. Thank you for that. But first, we must unlock the opportunity for these property owners whose properties have become non-conforming uses. Easy for us to say what we want to see there and tell those property owners, we just hope there's another big flood that takes your property out of commission, because then we get to control it. Mr. Vonch is right. It's not fair for us. And there's other non-conforming uses all across the city that happen when we start rezoning. And then eventually you see that it gets locked and frozen. And relative to our housing market, we can't build anything. We can't upside. There's no entry-level homes. You can't downsize if you want to move out of your home. We have so many people living in large homes because there's nowhere else to move to. Proper zoning will address their property rights. So I ask council to join me tonight in adopting ordinance 2025-16 and allowing this conversation to continue. There's no opportunity if we don't keep the conversation going with the rezoning. Madam Council.
So we have a number of councilmen that would like to speak, so we're going to do that this time.
I have some comments to echo off what the mayor did just say, though, and you said that we need to ensure there's no rampant overdevelopment in this district, and I agree with you. And we discussed this briefly at the select committee meeting on last week on making all uses in this district a conditional use. And so I would present an amendment to the amended ordinance that we have. All uses listed as permitted use on Exhibit C as amended, the official schedule of district regulations shall be changed to conditional use. And all restrictions for permitted use in Section 6.31B as amended shall become restrictions for conditional use. So I would move that we amend the ordinance to reflect that.
Councilman, do you have that in writing?
Right there.
That is, and I'll just say that from a timing perspective, that was part of your proposal that was considered at the select committee meeting. And there may not have been consensus on that point, but I think there was consensus on the point that if you make all the uses down there conditional, you will not attract the investment. I don't know anybody in their right mind that would make multi-million-dollar investments.
Well, as a point of order to that, though, the building you just put up as an example of out-of-town investment, the Cinnamon Tea Room building, that was redeveloped as a conditional use. The Elks Lodge Apartments, right up there, developed as a conditional use. There's lots of examples in our community of large amounts of capital being expended on projects that are a conditional use, and there's guidelines within state and local laws to protect those developers. So I've got my motion on the table. I don't know if there'll be a second or not, but that's my motion.
Is there a second? All right. I don't see a second, so I believe that amendment dies for lack of a second.
Floor back to you, Councilwoman.
Patrick, do you want to go first?
Sure, why not? So after careful examination of the proposed riverfront district regulations and much discussion with the community, it has become clear to me that these regulations have been specifically tailored for the proposed apartment project at the corner of Vaughn and Jefferson. These two uses, this building and this rezoning, they're not separate. They're one and the same. The rezoning proposal claims to provide for a vibrant mixed-use district, but also seeks to push through this apartment project with as few obstacles as possible. Case in point, my previous motion. Tailoring any zoning district to facilitate one developer's needs is terrible public planning, especially when the public has consistently voiced their opposition to the zoning change and development for months. I've never seen anything like this in our united community in the time I've been on council, and frankly in my lifetime, against anything here. Petitions submitted to the Plan Commission have continued to collect signatures, and there are now over 2,000 signatures of people opposing this zoning change. Alternatives to the development have been offered. Land has been offered to the city for free as an alternative location for development. And community meetings have sparked great discussions on how we, the people of Madison, would like to steer future development on our riverfront. And now we're being asked to completely unwind 40 years of progress towards open and community-oriented spaces on our riverfront, all in the name of one luxury apartment project. What no one has taken the time to explore in this particular instance is how inconceivably bad the finances of the apartment project actually are. The residents of Madison are being told that not only must they give away their community's open and accessible front porch to an out-of-town developer, but we must also pay them for the privilege. The amendments that we just recently agreed to were all crafted and agreed to by the mayor and Mr. Steinhardt with a careful eye to ensuring this apartment development could still move forward. The mayor has not been forthcoming with details on this project, and he's refused me information to the extent I had to request documents through a Freedom of Information Act request, and that is still being slow-walked 4 months later. But fortunately, the mayor and Mr. Steinhardt spelled out the particulars for this project in the Ready Grant application, and I'm sure that information was accurate. I've spoken with hundreds of residents on this subject, and one thing has been clear through all these discussions. Madisonians aren't against development and progress, but they are against this type of large overdevelopment on our riverfront. It's not the project, it's the location. Put this anywhere else, just about, and no one would have batted an eye. But, since we want to put it here, what's this project going to cost? According to the Ready Grant, we're estimating a total of $12,722,075. What are you, the taxpayer, going to be contributing? Ready Grant funds through the state in the sum of $2 million. The grant application listed $3 million, but I'll be generous here and use the $2 million sum, which I believe is what was approved. Tax dollars from the city TIF district in the sum of $1.45 million. And also a tax abatement that we've been told is necessary to make this project work. So assessing the building at the $12.7 million valuation, applying a 2% tax rate for residential rental property gives us $254,441.50 each year. Spread that out over a typical 10-year tax abatement period, and we're looking at a total of $2,544,415 in property taxes they don't have to pay. Your total contribution to this luxury apartment complex, $5,994,415. You will be subsidizing 47% of the project costs. The proposed development will have 52 units, and taxpayers will be subsidizing each unit in the building by $115,277.21. The census reports average income, individual income in Madison, around $32,596 a year. This building is being targeted towards individuals making $100,000 a year. Median gross rent in Madison, $827 a month. This project is designed for folks who make 3 times the average income and will pay more than twice the median rent of most folks in Madison. Now, surely those people don't need their housing subsidized by the taxpayers. If the project will pencil, put it somewhere it'll pencil and let the developer go for it, but don't ask the taxpayers to subsidize this project. With numbers like these, Madison is being asked to create a Section 8 subsidized housing for the 1%. It's such a terrible investment that the only way it gets built is if you pay for half, and that doesn't include the land itself that you've already paid for and would be giving to the developer free of charge, according to the Ready Grant proposal. A developer, I should add, who has such disdain for our community that he and his associates refuse to respond to requests from your elected representative for that part of the city to discuss community concerns heard from people who live here. Professional inquiries that I made on behalf of my constituents were roundly and summarily refused. No response from anybody at that developer. This developer will be laughing all the way to the bank at your expense. There are only a few moments where you can truly look at the path you're walking and know the decisions you make here and now will be a defining corner of your legacy. Who are you? Why are you here? Are you here to listen and serve your neighbors and constituents? Or are you sitting here for yourself? Are you here to do this job for our city and its people? Or are you here to serve some deep-seated insecurity that cries for validation to build your fragile ego? I'm 35 years old, and I'm recognizing this moment. Our community has come together in a way I've never seen before. Republicans, Democrats, old, young, a cross-section of Madison that have come together to beg their servants to keep our community's riverfront open space and free from large commercial development. And I feel so blessed to have grown up in Madison and to have this opportunity to serve our city. And I recognize that this is a turn we don't want to take. The hundreds of people I've spoken to are pleading with this council to say no. Keep the riverfront for the people. We don't need to do what other cities do and sell it off piecemeal for private pleasures. What we do here has been so distinctively different from other cities that we've now become a model of what to do for those other cities. So why should we sell out the ideals that have built this city that we all love in the name of quote-unquote progress on the riverfront that has had no input from the city, no legitimate public meetings that have actually considered what the people want? The riverfront in Madison represents the progress we've made here, or so I've seen it over my lifetime. Peaceful and serene walks at night, summer nights with friends, boats, pool, music. We find solace and inspiration in the peace. For me, it's the place that I led the last ride I took my dad on after he died. That road, that river, beautiful and terrible, but always there, constant. You've got the old men sitting on the benches, the kids playing in the parks. The river is our legacy, and how we have steered it through open space zoning has built our legacy. Certainly there are changes for the better that can be made in that area, but this proposal is not it. We can continue this conversation, but we owe it to the community to involve them in the decision. If you think this proposal or the amendment is reflective of the will of the people, you're deluding yourself. This represents the will of a few, and if we pass this ordinance, we should be ashamed of ourselves. There's a reason we named it Bond Drive. The actions of that mayor merited a legacy. What I see here is a whimper that would move us backwards. Please vote no on this. Make that your legacy. Make that vote something our community can be proud of. Because as elected officials, we don't do what we do because we think it's a good idea. Our opinions are irrelevant. We do what we do for them, for the people. You can disagree with them, but when they speak loud and unified as they have, you must listen. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Patrick. Is there anybody else that would like to speak? Okay, Joel, go ahead.
Okay, well, given the gravity of this critical decision, I believe it's essential to fully articulate my stance. You still can't hear me? Okay, how about now? Better? Okay. I know I've spoken with a lot of you, and I appreciate the discourse, and we don't always come to an agreement, so I'm going to just try to lay out a little more of where my head's at. So thank you for bearing with me. Nonetheless, being so moved to share this perspective over the past week, we've seen a deluge of communication, from thoughtful emails to the least effective, in my opinion, social media, the fast food of information, virtue signaled from the comfort of a keyboard. However, you guys are here today, so thank you. Nonetheless, I recognize and respect the many thoughtful citizens genuinely who oppose this vote, and I value their perspective. However, separate from that legitimate disagreement, oh my Lord, okay, have used fear, certain political attacks, and misinformation to try to force a political outcome. As your truly, duly elected representative, I have zero tolerance for those tactics, regardless of where they're coming from. Nonetheless, let me be clear, this is not about me feeling attacked. I've spoken to countless citizens on all sides. This is about protecting the integrity of our legislative process from those who would rather drown out the debate with fear than engage in facts. Let's address the statistics. Being so often cited, the most generous measure of opposition I have seen is the online survey. Patrick, I know that you mentioned the 2,000. I would like to see that. Those are on file. Oh, the petition. Please, can you send that over so I can view it and we can talk about that? Okay, do you have them?
Yeah.
Okay.
If I still have my copies, but I gave them to.
Okay. Okay, thank you. But let's assume with the 450 that I've seen representative, it's still a portion that's smaller. Even if that's 2,000, that's still not a representative majority. I have yet to see an actual statistical fact that shows a majority does not want this. That is not a statistical majority, ladies and gentlemen. It simply is not. It simply is not.
Okay, now we listened to all of your comments, so please let Councilman Storm finish his. Thank you.
I appreciate the effort to gauge the opinion, and we must acknowledge that social media polls are not statistically sound foundations for policy. I'm open to seeing more of signatures. Fair enough. Nonetheless, let's call it 2,000. Let's call it 3,000. Let's address the rest. Despite the volume overwhelmed by the loud voices, there's a quiet focus of a remaining percentage that still remains larger of our community. The majority represents the millions of daily priorities, the school drop-offs, the shift changes, the shop openings. For these citizens, the daily work of building a life and a future takes precedence over political protest. Their silence is not indifference. It is often a quiet confidence in the community's stability and a willingness to support reasonable opportunity. This is a far cry from the majority census. As a principled leader, I must ensure my decision is based on the best interest of the whole community, not simply the volume of the loudest voices. We are not a pure democracy where two wolves and a sheep vote what's for dinner. We are elected representatives whose duty is to remove the bias of fear, ensuring we do not disenfranchise those without a voice. History is littered with times when majorities got it wrong. Imagine how easily a minority can as well, a loud minority. Now, the vote itself.
Please don't interrupt.
I'm sorry?
Please don't interrupt.
Now, the vote itself, this is not a vote for apartments. This vote is to create an opportunity for a new district along our riverfront. To those who argue this process is merely a way to destroy, that this process is merely a way to destroy the riverfront and there is no real scrutiny, I say this: you misunderstand the very purposes of the checks and balances we have in place. The entire multi-layered process is designed to prevent destruction and ensure preservation. We've talked about how this would go to council again. We understand that we have to appropriate funds for anything that goes forward. Furthermore, there's state planning, which will ensure protocols for flooding and other concerns, a check no local councilman can bypass. We've talked about the Historical Board of Review. They'll determine the appropriateness, and they'll check that they prioritize preservation. The apartments are not a foregone conclusion. The idea, I will just do whatever I want, is undermined by these mandatory external approvals, and far be it from me to clip the wings of a bird that has yet to land. I want to specifically acknowledge those with dissenting views, like Mr. Oxshire, who have offered respectful, thought-provoking perspectives. I commend his tenacity, and steel sharpens steel. I do not see those with different opinions as adversaries, but as stakeholders with a unique, valid perspective. Their challenge has forced me for self-improvement and personal accountability. Do I know the precise technical specifications of every zoning parcel, or can I recite the ordinance from memory? No. And to demand that level of technical mastery from a duly elected representative is fundamentally misunderstood in our system. My job is not to replace the city planner or the attorney. My job is to weigh the cumulative impact of their expertise against the future needs and values of this community. It has required me to weigh my wisdom and experience alongside digested doctrine and law, shaping new outcomes for a dynamic future. I believe this collective, broad spectrum of perspective is the strength of our team, our community. For any of us with the best laid plans, we understand that the plan is the first casualty of conflict. This is why you plan the mission. This is not why the mission is the plan. My decision today is rooted in that commitment to the mission of service, and I stand ready to support the final outcome. I respect the decision my colleagues will make. I pray that they find in their hearts and minds to make the best decision they can for our community. unapologetically and confidently. I close with this. I'm not an agent expressly for City Hall or some political figure feigning as a man of the people. We've all seen the performance, the antagonism, the grandstanding, the pretense of expertise without real knowledge, real-world experience to back it up. To understand the political landscape, we must understand the motive, and it's been observed that hypocrisy is the tribute vice pays to virtue. The true virtue tribute we owe our citizens is genuine, authentic service, not the performance of it. I do not list my personal life as a resume for moral superiority, but as a measure of true cost of my commitment. I've been driven by the actual burden of representation as a representative. I'm a husband, a father of soon-to-be 7, a 15-year veteran of the Marine Corps and Army Special Operations currently serving active duty. I'm an IU Kelly business graduate. I'm a single-income small business owner and a volunteer. I put my family and my reputation on the front lines, risking my peace out of a singular love for this city and a commitment to servant leadership. The only foregone conclusion for me has been to make the best decision I can, based on all the information I have. I'm grateful for the opportunity to serve this wonderful town and our nation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Storm. Councilwoman DiTillo.
So this is going to start just a little bit different. In our work session last Tuesday, in our work session last Tuesday, Councilman Tevenot specifically said when we were addressing Exhibit A, which was about setbacks, the height of the building, the height, that this isn't about the building, the lot. It would be about any building that we would put on the riverfront. So when I was preparing for today, I realized that that's in the beginning paragraph. Please don't confuse this with the lot or the building. We have setbacks and restrictions for building on the riverfront, for the riverfront to be considered by all council. And so I was very surprised that you said it was exactly about the building and the lot, because you and I actually had an exchange where we addressed that. So
What provisions, though, would come to council?
What's that?
What provisions would require any of these developments to come back before council?
Anyhow, I just want to say that threw me off. Exhibit A, B, and C, we were going over, and that was in Exhibit A about making amendments that you and Councilman Schaefer had suggested. And I thought we did a really good job compromising and coming to some conclusion for that. But when this first came up in May, when it started to become public, I was not pleased with having a riverfront district. I found it to be unnecessary, and I thought, what on earth is going on? And I saw the map, and I saw the suggestions, and I questioned what is going on. So I took a step back and decided to do a lot of due diligence and be sure that I made a good decision based on what was best for over 12,000 people that live in Madison. The majority, so I'll get to that, but what is in the best interest of Madison? So many people have said, you work for me. I'm your constituent, and that is true. I work for everybody, though. People in favor of this, people against the zoning. I'm not talking about the building or the lot. I'm talking about the ordinance that's put before me right now. I have not seen anything about the building to address that. But I have some conclusions that I reached. After listening, I also listened to hundreds of people, And some of those conclusions. Madison is known for its people. And the people are passionate and they care. And this whole exercise, while very time-consuming and sometimes painful, that was so blaringly apparent that we love Madison, if you're in opposition or if you're for this zoning. Most people care regardless. Most people are capable of very good dialogue in their own way and in their own words. The community of downtown and the riverfront is the heart of our community as a whole. And the hilltop is important, very important, but I learned during my time with Madison Main Street program, the heart of the community has to be taken care of, or all the other parts will not be healthy. About 80% of the riverfront is green space. And we have 9 parks. We have 9 parks. But we also, I think it was Mr. Kidd that was saying that we were going to maybe create some kind of blight, or the...
I said it seems as though the district is being created so that it can be called a blighted district to be eligible for the TIF program to be funded.
Thank you for the clarification of what you said. So there is blight there. There are places that are not attractive, that are not usable, and that our riverfront is greatly underutilized, and its potential could be so much more. And it's so important for the health of our entire community, especially our downtown. So if we have about 1,200 people that live downtown, and 120 people move here because of whatever development, like Laney said, there's about 46 properties, you said, on the west end that could be developed. A lot of those are privately owned. The city just doesn't have control over those. But the properties that we do, we should investigate that. So, yes. But my point being that if we have more than 120 people, that's an increase of 10% downtown. And I agree with Councilman Bartlett. Madison, our business district is very fragile. I know about that firsthand. And we're surviving, and some businesses are thriving. But we need to do what we can. I'm jumping around, I'm sorry. I asked AI to help, and it gave me a one-pager that was very artificial, and it doesn't work. So I wanted to be more authentic. And so I'm sticking with what I did. So I believe the city's job, and I've said this for more than 2 decades, before I was ever involved in government, the city's job is to provide an environment for businesses to be successful and for people to be happy and have a good quality life. Zoning is one of the tools that the city uses to have good planning. We don't have a plan for the riverfront, but we sure got lucky, didn't we? So the Riverfront Redevelopment Committee has made a wonderful walkway, and then we have our green space on the south side. But the open spaces, they don't serve a purpose right now, and they need to be addressed. We are not utilizing all of our riverfront. And I'm not saying to build or take all 27 options off of Exhibit C, but carefully plan. And our riverfront can be beautiful, and we can still have progress. But it has to be proper, appropriate infill for it to be something worthwhile to pursue. So I urge people to work together and make this a better place. The ordinance is intended to create a vibrant area for our residents to enjoy, and we need to elevate that experience and make it better because change is inevitable. And we can either do better or we can leave it the same. And I've talked to a lot of people that want to leave it the same, and I respect those opinions. The survey that I want to thank you for doing the survey to try to collect data. The petition does have 2,000 people on it. 2,000 out of 12,000 is not majority. And the survey, there were 327 people that live in Madison that took the survey. Talked to a friend of mine, a constituent, who said we knew the number would be low. People don't do surveys, don't hear about it, aren't on Facebook. There's a whole bunch of factors that come into the reason we have such a low turnout. But the suggestion that 84% of the people in Madison, Indiana are in favor when only 275 people were opposed. 275 people. Just add 1,000 to it. It's still not the majority. So the people, but I respect the opinion of both sides. I think you said that, Joel. And I feel that way as well. I respect people's opinions. I have heard people's opinions, and I have listened to people. And you can shake your head no, Mr. Bellamy, because you always do. Anyway, but a majority of the people in the community are virtually against almost everything. Almost everything. And it's so small. So the people that I have talked to and attended the public meetings, they have been very, very outspoken about how they feel. And I respect that. But just because you're loud doesn't make you right. And it doesn't necessarily make you the majority of the people in a community. And I don't do popularity contests. But there is no data to support. 84% of the people are opposed to this. It works out to 2%. And so I don't find that to be a valid argument. I believe that there are people, landlords, who are purposefully wanting to keep supply low in Madison and the demand high to benefit financially, and they are slumlords that prey on the poor. Based on the fact that I have people in my district paying $2,000 a month for substandard living, $1,000 for 600 square feet, $1,200 for about 950 square feet. I decided, since I lived in my home or been in that location for almost 30 years, that I needed to educate myself on what property is going for in Madison. So $1,000 and $2,000 is not so far-fetched anymore. I hate it. I think it's ridiculous. But as long as the supply and demand, as long as the demand's there, they're going to get that money for substandard property. So this is about zoning. It's not about the building. It is about zoning. And we need to protect the riverfront. We need to protect all. Yes, I love the slogan. I put that in here too, Mr. Bellamy. You were nodding yes. I want to show how I agree with you. Save the riverfront is an excellent slogan. Every person that I talked to, whether they were opposed or in favor of this particular zoning ordinance 2025-16, every single person, they wanted to save the riverfront. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Schaefer, did you have anything?
Yeah, I have a few comments. Once again, as we've said before, I just want to thank everybody who has shared their feedback, whether that's been coming to meetings, whether that's responding to the survey, emails, text messages, phone calls. I think we've all received dozens of emails, or dozens and dozens of emails, phone calls, and text messages, voicemails over the last several weeks. I can try, yes. Slide it over a little bit. As I was saying, I thank everybody who has provided feedback. The emails, phone calls, chat, or text messages, voicemails, all the above. I know some people have claimed that we aren't listening, that we aren't hearing. I know myself, I've listened to every one of those voicemails. I've read every single email and text message. I can't respond to many of them. I've got 3 young children who require a lot of attention. I've got a full-time job. I've responded to some when I can. I had a lengthy chat with Mr. Oxshire several weeks ago. I listened to many of his concerns. As we heard that feedback, there were changes made, both before the ordinance went before Planning Commission. The height restriction was lowered. Just today, we made amendments to increase the setbacks. There were many, many comments, whether by email or in the survey or otherwise, that had concerns about the 0 or 3 foot setbacks that were originally in the ordinance. Those have been drastically increased. The parking has been clarified. Yeah, it's not 2 units or 2 parking places per unit, but it is 1. It will keep some of the parking off of our streets. Despite my hesitancy, I published the full results of the survey that I did, both to my council by email and online on Facebook. I knew it was probably going to get misused, and so I made an effort to try to head that off. I put a disclaimer on the second page of the survey presentation. I'll read that to you. Please remember that this survey is not in any way a scientific poll that can be directly extrapolated to represent the views of the entire population. It is primarily a tool to allow for the collection of public feedback. The results of such a survey will always be biased by the motivation of one side or the other to respond, and typically the anti-crowd will be louder and more motivated than the pro side. Any person attempting to portray the results of this non-scientific survey as directly and proportionally representative of the views of the entire community is either being dishonest or lacks a basic understanding of statistical polling. However, given the overwhelming skew in the responses toward one side, it is reasonable to make some assumptions regarding overall community views as discussed in the following slide. Anybody who saw those results and turned around and said that 85% of the city is opposed to this project is either being dishonest. I mean, at that point, they have to be dishonest, because you can't read that and then turn around and make that statement without being dishonest. There is no other logical conclusion. You don't get to disagree. It's basic statistical facts. You cannot extrapolate data like that. Now, does that mean that there's no use in that data? Absolutely not. It was very informative to me. My feeling from looking at that data is that, as originally proposed, the ordinance and the building project, which are unfortunately inextricably tied to each other, the majority of the population likely was opposed to that ordinance and that original building proposal. However, a lot of changes have been made, and thankfully, the changes that have been made, we all received a postcard in the mail. It showed a building sticking straight up from the street, 45 plus feet in the air, with 0 setbacks. You know what can't be built? That building. The amendments we made make it impossible to build that building on that lot. We're not here to vote on that building today. That'll come back to us at a later date, and we'll have to vote to sell the lot. We'll have to vote for the funding and the bonds. That's a future discussion to be had. But you know what can't be built? The apartment complex that was in that postcard. So, to everybody who is opposed to that building, that's great. We're not going to be approving that. It will never go in this district. It will never go on that lot. Like I said a minute ago, and like has been reiterated earlier, this tonight is about zoning. It's not about the project. Honestly, I don't know how I'll vote if that project does come to fruition and it gets back in front of council. Maybe I'll vote yes, maybe I'll vote no. I've got my own hesitations. From the first moment I saw that plan, I expressed to the mayor and to Mr. Steinhardt that I had some concerns about what that proposal was going to do to the riverfront. But you know what? That's why we're making the changes that we're making. We have made the changes already, I guess, to the ordinance. Right now, we've got a gravel lot sitting in the heart of our riverfront, right there at Jefferson and Vaughn. That is not a useful lot for parking vehicles during festivals. It is a blight. It is something that we need to improve, to develop. Does that mean we're going to put apartments there? Not necessarily. That might be what goes there. We'll see how the process plays out. Please let me finish. So tonight, we'll vote on the zoning. Down the road someday, when the apartments come back to us, we'll make another decision. Do we vote on the apartments? Do we vote yes or no? We'll see how that one goes down the road someday. I don't know how I'll vote, but I know that tonight, my vote is about what we can do to open up development by rezoning the riverfront.
Mr. Bartlett, you made a statement earlier, I'm assuming. Did you want to talk, Ken?
I would
Okay.
like to take another moment, and I'll be short because you've heard enough from me. But first, I want to thank everybody who emailed me, who phone called me, who sent me a text, who stopped me on the street. There are people in this very room that I talked to who were against the zoning, and people in this very room who I talked to who were in favor of the zoning. So there are definitely a large number of folks in Madison that are in favor of the zoning change. Again, this is not about the building tonight. The building is a different discussion on a different day. And that building can be designed by council in any format that we want it to be designed, if it goes that far. It may not go that far. But the reality is the zoning opens up the opportunity for 3 blocks that currently are frozen. And to call them open space, please drive down those 3 blocks and look. There is 1, possibly 2 lots that are open space. The other lots are all either buildings or gravel lots, or in one case, an open-air warehouse, industrial warehouse. They are certainly not open space. So, again, thank you everybody who did send me their concerns, did send me their comments. I have weighed all of them in my own way. And in many cases, I was able to respond. I apologize to anybody I didn't specifically respond to. I know there were some. But I have considered all of the comments that I got, and I've weighed them, and, well, I think we're ready to vote.
I don't know who's making that noise. If you could just please be quiet. Thank you.
DiTillo.
Yes.
Actually, we need a motion in a second. Oh. Okay. DiTillo.
Yes.
Bartlett.
Yes.
Storm.
Yes.
Schaefer.
Yes.
Krebs. No. Tevenhutt.
No.
Thank you, council. And just to reiterate what was said tonight, there's still many, many conversations to have. This is just the beginning of a long process. Councilwoman Krebs, is there any additional public comment signups for open period? No. Not, I just want to give one update here, and I would ask the community and invite council to view yesterday's Board of Public Works and Safety meeting. There was a very good update of our Main Street revitalization there, prepared by Minnie McGee, our Director of Finance. And a lot of work is going into that corridor. Not only a lot of work, years of planning and tens of millions of dollars. We talked earlier about our budgets and how we improve our communities and how we invest in our communities and make them vibrant and how fragile Main Street is. This is a $20 to $30 million investment in our community. It's long overdue, but we have the opportunity to do it. We also have the skill set to make it happen. Please look at that. Council, we'll come back and do the same presentation we did for Board of Public Works. Maybe not at the next meeting, but the meeting after that. There's some great opportunities there. I love what's happening downtown. And the other thing I'll mention too is that we had a proposal at the Board of Public Works to streamline our event safety planning. So that was outlined by Hannah for the Board of Public Works, and that's going to make some progress and make it a little bit easier, but also the continued focus on safety for our events that welcome tens of thousands of people to our community. We do have another great event this weekend. We're going to have another beautiful weekend in Madison, Indiana with Mad Hop, and lots to see and do. Shops, restaurants, music, getting around along our very beautiful and pedestrian-friendly downtown. So please come down for that. Our next council meeting is October the 21st. Council, if you don't have anything to add, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
Quick question, real quick. Can you email the Board of Public Works presentation to us, or is it viewable in the video? Or
It's, so we did an update on that, and then we linked the YouTube video to our Main Street project page on the city's website.
Okay, thank you.
And the part about the Main Street plan starts around 28 minutes. But it's a really, really thoughtful plan, phase by phase, and so much happening in that corridor.
Soup, Stew, Chili, and Brew
Soup, Chili, and Brew is this weekend.
this weekend also.
Oh, I'm sorry, I think I said Mad Hop. Soup, Chili, Brew is
Oh.
this weekend. Mad Hop's.
You said the wrong one.
Yeah,
Okay.
my apologies. We have a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Hold on, let me get to this lady real quick.
I put it in there for a reason. It was ignored, but yeah.